the camera. I'm never in front of the camera. Oh, not for 5 more minutes?
Yeah, you got 5 minutes.
Like, can't get this wrong. I went to bed. Where's my thing? I am not going to ask any questions. They are. So what's going to happen? They're going to go through honorable mention, second team, first team. Then they're going to interview Coach Jesse, and then you. Okay. Oh my God, my nose is itchy. Someone's talking about me. That was fun.
Oh, you know what? No, we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll the intro. I forgot. The intro.
T-shirts for all of the awards. That's why. Yeah. So all the kids and welcome to the Mon Valley Independent B Graphics Finest 25. We are live tonight here at B Graphics in North Bell Vernon. We have a great crowd here, and we're going to give you all the Finest 25 picks from the Mon Valley Independent. And that's about all I got. Take it away, Jeremy and Jose.
Thank you, Jen. Welcome everybody out there in the YouTube universe. Jose, it's that time.
It is.
Time to put a wrap on the fall sports season.
Yeah, Finest 25 time.
We have to first give a shout out to all our teams throughout the Mon Valley, all 12 head coaches. We have one here tonight with us.
Yep.
All the players, all the fans, parents, they've all been very supportive of what we try to do every week, every Friday. And Friday nights are not easy for us
Yes,
at all.
they are not, but they
They're
make it a little
stressful.
easier.
But yeah, we had a great, successful season. We had a lot of teams do a lot of good things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of the final send-off. I know a lot of people have asked us, you know, when are they coming out? When are they coming out? We're actually a month ahead of time.
Yes, we are. We usually get this
year.
done in December, so this our MVI live show really expedited this process.
Thanks to our ownership.
Yes,
Naz
thank you.
Victoria back here in the house. You know, little pressure,
Yeah.
but we get
We made
the
it
job
happen.
done. We have a great team alongside us, which we'll introduce them here shortly.
Yeah, third year for the Finest 25 All-Stars, too. So we're excited here.
And we got to give it up to B Graphics for hosting us again. We did the soccer, the Fab 15 All-Stars live from here. They welcomed us back to do this one here. Again, they're our sponsor.
Yes.
The first and second team players all will receive a T-shirt. Our award winners get plaques and T-shirts. And on top of the fact that they're on these teams as well. So
Yep.
B Graphics really takes care of us here. First thing we got to thank our photographers.
One of them's here, Jen Cottalupi. You saw her in the intro.
Here, yes.
Our host tonight.
And you'll see out there on YouTube when we reveal the teams, we're going to sit here and we're going to give you the honorable mention guys. But after that, we have a video montage and all photos of all of these players. I was off for a few days.
Right.
And still did some work to
Hours
round up these
upon
photos.
hours.
Thanks to our producer, Chad,
Yep.
keeping the pressure on me to do that as
Yeah,
well.
all the photos courtesy of Jen Cottalupi, Mike Darnay, Ben Bamford, Bob Smith was a big
Bob
contributor
Smith had
for
a
us
few
this year.
They all do such great work.
They do, yes.
And people don't always see them because they take hundreds of photos and you only see one, maybe two
Right.
in the paper. So they do such a good job. But if you go to photogallery.monvalleyindependent.com, all those photos that they shoot at the game are on there.
Yep.
So they do a really great job.
Absolutely.
The first thing we got to get out of the way, let's put a little disclaimer on this thing.
Absolutely. Go for it.
12 teams, a lot of players, a lot of great performances. And this first and second team, first and second, I know it's in order, but it's really 1A, 1B.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many great kids and great athletes out there, but we have to narrow it down.
Which is very difficult.
But a lot of the information we go through Max Prep's Huddle to get the team stats. But we get recommendations from coaches. Like, for instance, our Coach of the Year, he had some votes from some of his competition and the other Mon Valley coaches. And they nominated, I know Devin Whitlock got a lot of nominations for his award. Mason Pasco from his coach, other coaches that he's played against, and Mark Banner,
Yes.
He did great things at Sarah Catholic and,
Yes.
We on the all-conference team.
Yeah, we relied on our
crazy.
coaches for a lot of this, and without them, these teams really wouldn't be possible because we really couldn't be everywhere every week. So it really helps us out a lot.
Right. So don't. I know we'll probably see some.
Can't please everyone.
Right. We'll
but
probably see some tweets and some Facebook messages, but we do our best as a staff of two and a couple other voters in this.
And
we
there's
do our best.
no doubting. Everybody that's on this list deserves to be there.
Absolutely.
So we're excited about it.
But one thing we can do, let's not keep the masses waiting. I know one of these things, we don't want to go 2 hours.
Yes.
So we want to get this show started, and we're going to run down the honorable mention teams real quick. Let's go through the offense. I'll read these ones off. You can
All right.
read the defense.
Yep.
These have the first and second teams are position specific.
Yep.
These do not. These are all a lot of kids we felt deserve some recognition. The first up, Austin Grillo from California, quarterback on offense.
Yep.
Joining him is his teammate Lucas Kwalk, a junior. Bell Vernon quarterback Jared Hartman, a junior, along with their junior running back Larry Calloway. Those two guys are on the honorable mention list. Sarah Catholic running back Khalil Smith is on that list. Menneson's Isaiah Beltram and Vaughn Taylor offensively. Bentworth sophomore Owen Patricic, who, fun fact, related to me.
Oh,
I'm
you're related
to everybody in the
Yes,
Mon
you
Valley.
are.
Karan Sales from McKeesport, Cochise Ryan from California, Diamante Diggs from McKeesport, Antonio Epps from South Allegheny, Bill DiVirgilio from Yawk, and Charleroi kicker Joey Caruso are on that list. So.
A good list there of guys who definitely deserve the recognition. First off, just kind of analyzing this group, the Bell Vernon duo of Larry Calloway and Jared Hartman. What did you kind of think of their play this season?
Well, number one, Calloway came in. Mason Pasco missed a couple games, and even when he got a breath, Larry played in 10 games for the guys. He finished with 669 yards rushing on only 88 carries. He scored 14 touchdowns. I saw him in their non-conference game against Plum, 226 yards rushing in the first half.
Right.
He finished, I think, with 269. Coach Humbert kind of pulled in the reins pretty quick. Averaging 7.6 yards per carry. We talked a little bit about, if you look at Larry and Mason back and forth, you probably wouldn't pick Mason as the one being straight up the gut between the tackles. But Larry was the outside guy who wants to get to the perimeter. And Jared Hartman, he threw for 500 yards, 7 touchdowns. He had nearly 200 yards rushing. Obviously, he was lost in, I think, the next to last game against West Mifflin with a bad knee injury. He's on the mend, though. And he'll
off the crutches, apparently. On Twitter, he said he's off those crutches, good news.
So he'll be back without a doubt next season.
Right.
And the one stat that really stuck out with me is Diamante Diggs for McKeesport. McKeesport runs triple option offense, but they threw the ball.
They used the pass game this year.
Diggs, he didn't catch many, a handful.
He made them count, though.
A 30-yard per catch average.
Yep.
I'm sure you could ask, Coach Getsy's out here, if he had a 6'8" guy on the outside to throw to. His guys are pretty good, but 6'8" on the outside, that's a little different. 11 catches total, 7 of them for touchdowns. So that's pretty good.
Right.
If you want to go ahead and you can give up the defense.
A couple guys, first off on offense, and a couple other guys that really stood out. The California trio of Austin Grillo, Lucas Kwok, and Cochise Ryan, all over 500 yards rushing. Austin Grillo threw the ball a lot more, over 600 yards through the air, and also 10 touchdowns. Khalil Smith from Sarah Catholic also stands out, over 800 rushing yards. So a lot of talent on this honorable mention list, and really guys who could also be, first team, second teamers as well. And
it's funny because our option teams, California and McKeesport, I know McKeesport's been doing it a long time, but California just started last year.
Right.
They threw the ball a lot this year. I mean, when you have the talent at quarterback to do that, like you had in Grillo.
Hey, it gives you another weapon to have in the offense. But, let's name our honorable mention defense now. We're going to start with California sophomore Jaden Zuzak, Bell Vernon area senior Colin Pallotta, McKeesport senior Devin Sims, junior from Fraser Shane McGavitt, South Allegheny junior Chase Nicomati, Bell Vernon area senior Jake Fine, McKeesport senior Thomas Wyatt. Then we got Yawk senior Cameron Hopkin, Fraser sophomore Colton Arison, Sarah Catholic senior Noah South, Yawk junior Reno Ustashevsky, South Allegheny senior Austin Matzak, Charleroi senior Dakota Romantino, Charleroi senior Marty Foster, and Elizabeth Forward senior Zach Benedict. Jerry, what stands out about this list?
Well, one, Dakota Romantino, I mean, he was one that really came down, right on the fringe there. He's almost as good defensively as he is offensively. He's such a weapon, great speed. The thing that sticks out with me, he's always on the ball. He has a nose for the ball. He had 2 picks this year, but a lot of teams didn't really throw at him much. The big play that stands out is the 87-yard fumble return against Riverside. Totally changed that game around, and Charleroi just rolled from there. And he also had 2 returns for touchdowns. One each a punt and kick return. Jake Fine from Bell Vernon, he was an honorable mention, Big 8 performer. 30 tackles, 2 pass breakups. He was a big part. I think he was in the secondary last year. He moved into the linebacker position.
And we talked about the fact that he had 30 solo tackles.
Right,
They're all solo tackles.
And Shane McGavitt, the Commodores, 55 tackles, 8 tackles for loss. He really manned the middle for Coach Stieber's team, and they're still a very young team. Which I mean, you got Colton Harrison on there. I know he had near 50 tackles too. So Frazier's a pretty young team, and they should improve a lot going into next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And then some guys that really stand out for me, the 2 Yacht guys, Cameron Hopkin, Reno Ushashevsky, I believe that's how you say his last name, but combined for over 100 tackles, I think 108 tackles, 18 tackles, 24 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks they combined for. So good years for them. And then Zach Benedict, his first year playing defense. I mean, what a year that he had offensively, but he was just as good defensively as well. 7 sacks, 2 blocked punts, also had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in the regular season finale against York. Was a second-team all-conference outside linebacker, so definitely deserving of some recognition for his play defensively.
Yeah, Coach Colodi, he said we had to unleash him.
Yep. He unleashed him in every single way this season.
They had a good group coming back on defense, and he knows Zach's a great athlete, and he didn't drop a step in his first year playing defense.
Absolutely.
I think we're ready to go here after the honorable mentions. I think we're going to take a quick break. 90 seconds. We'll be right back, and we will unveil the second-team offense, I believe, is first, and the second-team defense.
The Mon Valley Independent E-Edition has arrived. Stay connected with your hometown news, at home or on the go. We got you covered. What happens here matters here. Subscribe to our E-Edition today at monvalleyindependent.com. The Mon Valley Independent, your local Mon Valley news source.
Hi, and welcome back to B Graphics in North Bell Vernon. We're going to take a moment and show you the Finest 25 offense. Second team offense. There you go.
back, there you have our second team offense. Jose, like I said, it's practically a 1B offense.
Yes.
A lot of talent there. Who were some of the guys that stuck out for you in that one?
Well, I mean, like you said, I mean, this is a team that if I were a coach, I'd like these guys on my squad. But, I mean, first off, Pat Brennan, quarterback from Sarah Catholic, first year as the starter as a senior. Completed 69 of 156 passes, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, over 100 yards per game. Really a solid year for him. Also, Charleroi Braden Mahalson, a very productive year after missing last season due to a knee injury. Was really the top back in the backfield for the Cougars, over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns. Really stands out. And then also even one of Pat Brennan's top weapons in the offense, Matt Ulishny, 22 receptions for 484 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, those 3 guys, really, really solid years. And then even on the offensive line, you look at a guy like Clayton Watson, a senior from California, who Coach Darren Dillow considered the strongest lineman on his team. Right. And at right guard, a really, really talented guy that really opened a lot of room for that running game.
You mentioned the quarterbacks, and at first I was like, kind of thinking about Julian Muccioli from Fraser.
I think he's an underrated selection. Yeah.
I think so, because you look at what he does every game, and Fraser didn't have the best season. They're still a young team, but he accounted for over 1,200 yards of that offense. He threw for just under 700, and he ran for almost 550, and he finished with 14 total touchdowns. 3 of those 100-yard rushing games. I saw one against Brentwood that he had. So he was a little underrated this year, but I mean, one thing you notice in the Valley, I mean, there's so many good quarterbacks. Right. So the other thing was Hunter Rakonen, this from Bell Vernon. The stats, 29 for 382, 4 touchdowns, just over 13 yards a catch. But I mean, he was the go-to guy when they needed a catch. Yep. And Hartman and even Nolan Labuda, later in the season when Hartman got injured, they always look for number 17. And the big thing is a lot of what goes underrated is how well they block. Mm-hmm. And I would say Rakonen is probably one of the best downfield blockers I've seen, and we've seen it a lot. Mason Pasco, and we'll ask him about this. He broke a lot of long runs, and he always had his receivers there blocking for him. And Canota Gaskins, another one of them quarterback. We have him as an athlete because he kind of does 2 things. 605 passing yards and a triple option. Very right. Similar to Muccioli at 553 rushing yards and 21 total touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I mean, and the quarterback position is so key when you're running that offense, making the right reads, along with the fullback position. So, it's something that's really, lost on how many good quarterbacks we have around here.
Absolutely.
And the last guy is Trent Kavanaugh from Bentworth. I mean, I know we didn't see him a lot, but I mean, 1,200 yards rushing. Mm-hmm. Their starting quarterback goes down. Well,
another guy who got a time in that quarterback.
Guess who fills the spot? It was Mr. Kavanaugh. I mean, just outstanding as a sophomore. I know he was really good as a freshman too, but I mean, he was outstanding this year and for the Bearcats, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with the next couple of years.
Right. And there was a Fraser lineman from your alma mater that you wanted to actually mention, Nick Zalesnik, a very good season for him.
A lot of similar to what Coach Dillon said about Watson. Coach Steve was so high on Nick. He said he's come a long way between his junior, senior seasons. Right. Probably the best lineman on that team. And he was there defensively for those guys too. He was honorable mention, but he did a great job for Fraser, and he's one of their senior leaders.
Right, and like you said, I mean, this is pretty much a 1B team. I mean, this is a team that any coach would be lucky to have, and guys that definitely deserve some recognition. So nice to see that we have a well-rounded team we got here on second.
Absolutely, and I just want to mention real quick, maybe it's an alma mater thing, but Kenny Fine at Fraser, as a receiver,
big weapon for Julian in that offense.
Yeah, he did so much, and he's going to be one to watch in the future. Him only being a sophomore too. Yep. All right, I think we're ready to take a look at the defense.
Yep.
We'll cue that up, and we'll be right back to talk.
second team defense. Jeremy, another very solid group, solid defensive group. Who kind of stands out on that list for you?
Again, we mentioned him in the second team offense. Kavanaugh, again, I mean, as a sophomore linebacker, 103 tackles, 5 sacks. 4 recoveries, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, he's carrying the Bentworth team.
Yeah, he was obviously the leader of that defensive unit.
Right. And Rakonen, again, 29 tackles, 4 picks. Again, he was pretty much, anchoring that defensive backfield for Coach Humbert's Leopard team. But, I mean, these defensive linemen, man, I mean, Jelani Stafford, Jalen Bryce, Anthony Rebar, and Bacina. I mean, they were all animals out there this year. I think you have some stats on Jelani, and I'll let you talk about that. But Jalen Bryce at Monessen, he was just unbelievable. I mean, he stepped into a leadership role young last year.
Right.
And he had some friends with him this year, too. So, and Rebar, I mean, Bell Vernon, everything with their defense started with their defensive line. I mean, they were so stout, and Bacina, too. I mean, I think second team offensive and defensive line all conference player in the Big East, too. Right. So, just strong all around. I mean, everybody, it's the 1A, 1B. This defense is pretty strong.
Absolutely. And we kind of, you mentioned Trent Kavanaugh. He was on our second team for offense as well. We have a lot of guys who played both sides of the ball and had success doing it. Hunter Rakonen, another guy. Jelani Stafford, second team running back, over 1,000 yards again this year. First year playing on the defensive line, and really had a good season. 54 tackles on defense. A guy who's being recruited to go to college as a defensive player. And then Khalil Smith, an honorable mention on the offensive side. Now a second team, a defensive back selection. His teammate Paul Pearson also on the second team. 48 tackles, 7 sacks on the year for him. And then Dustin Schoaf, a guy who we know how good of a running back he is. But I mean, a team high 83 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 fumble recoveries, and even caused a fumble. So he really did it all for the Cougars this season, both offensively and defensively.
And he's a little bit like Zach Benedict. I mean, he got called in to play both ways, and I mean, he flourished in that system. So
absolutely,
he did a great job. Other than that, I mean, like we said, I mean, Charleroi Colton Lynn was pivotal. He had a couple big games for them. I know that. And Nolan Labuda, from Bell Vernon too. I mean, he had a great year. I mean, he was probably, him and Rakonen anchoring the outside for the Bell Vernon defense, and they did a lot more than just catch, make interceptions or make force turnovers. I mean, they did a great job holding their receivers down. I mean, Bell Vernon's defense was solid front to back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to take a quick commercial break here, and then we're going to get on to the first team.
On to the first team. I think Jen will be back to introduce that, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
The Mon Valley Independent E edition has arrived. Stay connected with your hometown news, at home or on the go. We got you covered. What happens here matters here. Subscribe to our e-edition today at monvalleyindependent.com. The Mon Valley Independent, your local Mon Valley news source.
Hi, and welcome back to B Graphics in Bell Vernon, North Bell Vernon, that is. We're here live. Say hi to our crowd out there. Woo! All right, now it's time to show you the first team defense. So we're going to roll to a slideshow. Hope you enjoy.
Jose. There's our second team defense. Again, very strong unit. First team. That's right. How dare I? That's my fault. Delana, don't blow me up on the chat, please. I swear that was an accident. Again, the thing that really sticks out to me, the defensive unit we got here too. Savion Bell from Monessen. As soon as I saw him practice and watched him throughout a couple games, and then I go back to what Mikey Blainfield told me, nobody was able to block him all season long. And Hunter Perry, Coach Getzy and Coach Ledun kind of throw us for a loop, throw him on the defensive line as a defensive end. Right. And he was just outstanding all season long. Dom Pellegrini, again, no all-conference.
96 tackles.
I think he had more than that. I think he
had
more than that.
Over 100 tackles, yeah.
And his teammate Mike Polinsky, upwards of 90 tackles too. Just great for the Cougar defense in their first year in a new system. Yep. And Legend Davis is there as a DB.
John Vargo as well. Yep.
Right. And it's a testament to the season Charlotte already had, for sure. Right. But I know a couple guys stuck out for you too.
Yeah, I mean that whole linebacker, all four linebackers that we got on this team. I mean Anthony Bertram, we talked about kind of all the things that he did for Bell Vernon, not just defensively, but even on offense as well. And you mentioned Michael Polinsky, but Nathan Homa from Elizabeth Forward, 92 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. Really just had a huge impact for the Warriors this season on defense. 3 block punts, 3 block point after attempts as well. Was really just the heart and soul of that defensive unit, as Mike Collodi has said in the past.
He's pretty intense. We went to training camp out there, and he was letting his teammates have it, and he was letting them know how this season was going to go for them defensively. I mean, obviously they run into a juggernaut in North Catholic and then in their playoff game, but he was really, like you said, the heart and soul and the vocal leader of that defense. He teamed with Zach Benedict, to make a very good linebacker combination for those guys.
Yeah, and then we got our defensive player of the year, Mark Banner, who's actually in attendance here tonight. 147 tackles on the year. Another guy who didn't make all conference, and we were really baffled as to why he did not. 13 tackles a game, 7 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks. Was just everything revolved around him on the defensive side of the ball. Jose Regas talked to me a little bit about Mark for a story I did in the Mon Valley Independent a few days ago, and he was just, like Homa, really the heart and soul of that defense as well.
And Coach Bettler is glad he doesn't have to face off against him on Friday nights.
I think most
sure.
People most of his teammates are probably thankful that they don't have to face Mark on a daily basis.
And we'll get him in here in a few minutes and talk to him for a short while. But I think it's time for the cream of the crop on the offense. Let's take a look at our first team offense, and we'll come back and discuss, and then we'll get ready to talk to our award winners.
That's it. it is, Jeremy, our first team offense. And now we've seen our entire Finest 25 team for the year 2018. A lot of guys stand out here, Jeremy. Where do you want to start here?
All right, let's start with our 4 two-way first-time awardees here. Legend Davis at receiver, Hunter Perry. As an athlete, we couldn't figure out really where to put him because he did great receiving and great running the ball, especially late in the season. Anthony Bertram, the tight end linebacker from Bell Vernon, and Eric Oblak on both lines. Those 4 guys obviously stick out. They had great seasons, and they're definitely well-deserving. And let me start first with A.J. Ackerman from Elizabeth Ford. Dominant offensive line. Again, he got kind of a quirky outlook on things. And it's a fun guy. He's very confident.
Right.
Heading to Towson, to play Division I football. So
I'm sure Zach Benedict's happy that he was able to have him up front for him.
Undoubtedly. Let me just start with our top quarterback there, Gino Pellegrini. He was the first one. MVP of the Century Conference. We're going to get that.
Century.
We're going to clear that up. There's a little confusion. But he accounted for just under 3,100 total yards, threw for 2,300 yards. 31 touchdowns to 7 interceptions is really what stands out.
Yeah.
And he finished with 800 rushing yards. So he truly did it all. Coach Getsy, I'm sure, was happy to walk into a situation with having that kid as your quarterback for your first season. And his 2 top targets there, Romantino and Davis. Dakota Romantino, 969 yards and 11 touchdowns. I think he finished with just over 1,000 last year. So a lot of similar production this season.
Yeah, and speaking of Legend Davis, 35 receptions. I think he had close to 700 yards, if I remember correctly. 9 touchdowns was really a good compliment. We kind of talked about it, saying Dakota is more the AB and Legend was the juju for Charleroi. And talking about the quarterbacks too, Zach Benedict. I mean, 2-time All-Conference selection at quarterback for Elizabeth Forward, 1,200 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns for him. Had over 1,000 passing yards, 13 touchdowns. He accounted for over 2,200 yards and 25 touchdowns.
And again, it was coach unleashing him. He didn't really have to run a lot last year. He had Gavin Mardick on the outside and a couple other guys, and he had a better group of running backs behind him. Not that this year's were bad, but Zach, they went to the zone read, and Coach Carlotti always called him the most intelligent football player he's ever coached. So, he would always make the right reads on running that offense, and he did a great job for them all year.
And he still had weapons offensively. Obviously, Nate Alberts, first-team wide receiver for us, 773 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. So he still had some weapons in the passing game, and I mean it was very hard to defend a quarterback who can can run the football and throw the football as well.
And we're going to talk here to Mason Pasco here in a few minutes. I talked to Coach Humber about it. He missed a game and a half pretty much, and he would have been right at that 2,000 yard mark. I see. I mean, he finished with just under 1,800 yards, so it's not like it. It's not that bad that he missed it, but and the kicker. I know you saw Nick Fedora a little bit. What really impressed you about him?
I mean, 20 of 23 on point after attempts, 6 of 8, kicking field goals. In high school, it's not a lot of guys get an opportunity to kick 8 field goals. I feel like, and had a long of 42 yards. Had a couple of kicks that would have went longer than they actually were. But yeah, I mean, very impressive for him. Looking at the offensive line, in addition to A.J. Ackerman, you talk about Oblak and Rebar. Colton Kisner of Charleroi was really big this season. Sam Thomas of California. Darren Dillow said, has Division II potential and is probably his best lineman, as a senior. But yeah, a ton of talent on that offensive line. And you look at our athletes too. Obviously, Hunter Perry, Devin Whitlock, our breakthrough player of the year. He did it all for him. Was there anything he really didn't do well? I mean, he could pass the ball, he could catch the ball, he could run the ball. Finished the year with over 2,000 total yards, 22 touchdowns. Just was a big weapon for Monessen on the offensive side of the ball.
And I think the key thing was when you have somebody like that, you want the ball in his hands as much as possible.
Right.
So what did Mikey Blainfield do? He put him at quarterback, so every play he was touching the ball.
Right, and I mean he didn't every single thing. I mean he had over 500 yards in all three of those categories.
Right.
I mean he was just someone who defenses really just couldn't stop him.
Well, I mean, I hope people are happy with our list.
Yeah,
I hope they all came out okay. We're happy. We're proud of this list. I think this year our Mon Valley football was very deep, and this list proves that. But I'm pleased with it, and we'll be in touch. Any of you guys that were on first and second team, feel free to DM us your T-shirt size now, because we'll be chasing you down. We'll get the sooner we get the shirts ordered here, the sooner they come in, and they're about to pick up the busy season here in the winter sports. So we want to get those out to you guys. We'll come visit you at school, hand them out, take some photos. But yeah, I'm happy. Congratulations to all the winners, and that's about all I got for it.
Yeah, we got some award winners to talk to.
Yeah, so. We're gonna get 3 or 4 minutes in the hot seat with all these guys, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, so we'll take a short little break, and we'll be back with Charleroi head coach Lance Getze.
The Mon Valley Independent E edition has arrived. Stay connected with your hometown news, at home or on the go. We got you covered. What happens here matters here. Subscribe to our e-edition today at monvalleyindependent.com. The Mon Valley Independent, your local Mon Valley news source.
You're done. We good? And we're back with our finest 25 coach of the year, Lance Getze from Charleroi. Coach, thanks for coming down and spending a few minutes with us.
Thanks for having me.
The biggest thing that stuck out to me, Coach, is, anytime you talk to a coach after a loss, it's kind of an intimidating thing for a guy like us or guys like us. But the one thing that really stuck out when you talked to your guys after the Southside Beaver game was how proud. That was the first thing you said was, "I'm so proud to be your coach." Just take us through that moment and take us kind of wrap up the season for us of what was so special about this year.
Well, when you're faced with a moment like that, it's tough to to hold back all your emotions and really address those kids and look at what they meant to you and what you meant to them, what the season meant to all of us, and you want to reflect. And it's hard to do it right at that moment, but that's the job of a head coach, I think, and to sit back and really take a look at what we accomplished all year. I was very proud of their efforts and everything they overcame. Having a great season last year, having to adapt to a new coach, a new coaching staff, different style, not just on the field but off the field as well. I think that they were able to overcome adversity, and I talk about that all the time.
Right.
I think we're here to help these guys become young men, and I think that our kids really did a great job at learning just how to treat other people, how to treat their teammates, their opponents, and I think that's what I'm most proud of this season.
You talked kind of about the one regret you had was that you only had 1 year to coach a guy like Gino, and really the whole senior class, that meant a lot to you. I mean, how much fun was it to be able to coach, a senior class that included Gino and Dakota and guys like that?
Oh, I don't think it gets any better for a first-year head coach. My first job to work with a bunch of guys like that. That senior group really made it easy on us. They really did a great job of buying in, putting in the work in the off season. Some up and downs in the off season, but whenever it came to it, I think they really showed up, and we challenged them, especially during camp, and they were the leaders and helped these young guys push through. And like I said before, very proud of the fact that we went into camp and came out at the end of the season with the same amount of players, nobody quitting, and that's very important. And I think that's a growth of becoming a young man. So
part of when I first met you when you talked to the boosters and stuff, you mentioned how important family is to you personally, and to incorporate that family into the football family. Just take me through that and just tell me how important that is and how much that could really help a team.
Well, I think, my parents raised me to love sports, but I'm one of 6 kids, and
Right.
we're very close. We get together all the time. My kids feel like brothers and sisters with all their nieces and nephews. I mean, that's how close we are. So it's just something that's a value that my parents had instilled in me from a young age, and I just think that's who you are. People say, how do you change cultures and how do you do different things? And I don't think there's any gimmick out there that really changes a culture. I think it's who you are. And if you're a real person, you're open, you're honest, and you share your feelings with those kids, I think they're going to buy in. And I think that one of the things that I focused on was I've always told them every day what to expect. The first time I met them, I told them what to expect from their coaches,
Right.
how it's going to be. When we got on a practice field, I tell them, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start off with this drill, then that drill. And I didn't surprise them with things. I let them know, talk to them, and explain. I think, that they knew where they stood. They knew what was going on. And I think, they were able to build that trust with me because I always followed through, I felt like.
And speaking of trust, we talked at a couple of games I was at. There was some adversity, like you said, but your trust in them and watching them through camp and grooming them into what you wanted them to be as football players. Was there ever in those games? Was there ever any doubt you guys were going to be able to make the big play? Like I mentioned, Romantino's fumble, that really turned the Riverside game around. And there's some games that were some slow starts, but you guys always seem to overcome that.
I don't think there's I wouldn't say there's never any doubt that we would make that big play. There was never any doubt that our kids would give up.
Right.
And that's what it comes. I mean, making plays happens some games it doesn't. That's why it's a game. But the biggest thing was they were always going to fight. They were never going to give up because they were able to face adversity and overcome it. And from camp on, and I think that's really why they're able to have such a great season.
Last question for you, Coach. I know we're on kind of the 4-minute mark here, but first playoff win in 20 years this season, make it all the way to the Whitfield semis. I mean, what did that mean to you to be able to accomplish that with this group and I mean, kind of continue that tradition that Charleroi has in football?
Well, I'm a believer that's what's expected.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always expect to win a game. I think that these kids always did, so that wasn't a huge surprise. But I think it was great for that school district. I think it was great for the community, the parents. Very proud of their kids, and those boys. I think it was big for them to learn what hard work does and how it pays off. So that's what I think is most important that came out of the season.
All right, and there you have it, Coach Lance Getze, our finest 25 Coach of the Year. You get a nice little plaque for your office now, and you can share it. Obviously, you share that with your coaching staff. I know they mean a lot to you, and they've done a lot.
Not just the coaching staff, but this type of award is a team award.
Right.
This doesn't happen because of one person. This happens because of a whole team, community, administration. But I'd like to thank you guys. I think what you guys do is very important. I think it gives these parents something to read on a Saturday morning. I think these kids really enjoy being able to hear their names. So what you guys do for high school football is very important, and I really appreciate it.
And I'll tell you from my standpoint, we appreciate that. And I noticed this year talking to your guys after a game, you could tell there's been a change in the attitudes, the culture, and I know that's what you were striving for. So pat yourself on the back and your coaching staff. And like you said, it's a team thing with the Charleroi Cougars as a whole. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
That's what I hope. Thanks.
Okay, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll cut to another commercial, and we'll be right back with our Breakthrough Athlete of the Year, Devin Whitlock.
The Mon Valley Independent E-Edition has arrived. Stay connected with your hometown news, at home or on the go. We got you covered. What happens here matters here. Subscribe to our E-Edition today at monvalleyindependent.com. The Mon Valley Independent, your local Mon Valley news source.
Okay, we're back with our breakthrough athlete of the year, Devin Whitlock, freshman from the Menneson Greyhounds. Devin, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Talking to the mic. And
Thanks for having me.
Well, the first thing I want to ask you, you're confident in your skills on the football field. We talked earlier in the year when the season preview. Just wrap up. How do you think this season went? I mean, I know it didn't end the way you guys wanted it to end, but you played well against the top team, and you guys had an outstanding year.
Yeah, I think it was a successful year for us. We got way better from last year and the previous years. It was a team effort, though. Everybody had to come together just to do what we did.
We talked a little bit about it whenever we mentioned that you were the first team athlete for the Finest 25. But you threw the football, you ran it, you caught it. Did you kind of feel comfortable doing all those things, being a receiver, running back, quarterback, really all in your first year at the high school level?
Yeah, I felt comfortable doing it because growing up, I did all that my whole life. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't nothing new for it, just more competition.
I know last year you were in 8th grade, obviously, and you played middle school, but, coming into your first camp, under Coach Blainfield, what's it like playing for him and, seeing what he's trying to do for the football program?
You got to work hard. He's on you 24/7, just always trying to make you better. I think it was fun and an honor to work to play for Coach Monkey.
I know we talked a little bit about when we announced the teams. Coach Blainfield, obviously the goal was to get the ball in your hands every time. Did you ever go into a game knowing exactly where you were going to start the game out, or do you do that in the week-to-week game plan? And I know, in the middle of the season, he just moved you to quarterback full-time. That way you could touch the ball. But, what was the game planning like of where he wanted to put you?
At the beginning of the season, I was going to start out as wide receiver, but we started falling apart, and we had to make some changes. Then I went to quarterback.
Was that after the West Green game? Then?
Yeah, after the West Green game.
And what was it like getting to go up against Jeanette? Everybody, we're not going to lie, a lot of people expected them to pound you, but you guys stuck with it. You finally got to play on turf. Yeah, I know Coach Blainfield said he was real excited to watch you guys play on turf. And you guys went, blow for blow with those guys.
Yeah, I feel like we should have won. We didn't have all our players there. We had a few people that couldn't play that day. But I feel like we really should have won that game. We came down close, and we played as hard as we could.
How much fun was it for you, in your first high school year to have the success that you did and to be a part of a team that, we know the history of Menneson football, there's such a rich history, but to be able to kind of bring this back and to continue that rich history and really the stepping stone of more good seasons to follow.
It felt good. I felt like the community came together more the past few years, there wasn't a lot of people at the games.
Right.
But this year, I felt like we bring that back.
And you mentioned about the crowds. That's one thing Coach Plainfield said. Like, back when I grew up there and when he was there, the stands were filled, and that's one of the things he wanted to see for you guys. How much does that community support mean for you guys?
It meant a lot. Like, towards the end of the Rochester game, the crowd got into the game a lot, and I think it helped the momentum whenever we got up.
And I think the last question we really got for you is, you guys, West Green kind of handed it to you guys a little bit, but then you play a tough team like Rochester. You don't come out on top, but you played them tough, and obviously they were a semifinalist, or I think they went to the championship. And then, the way you played Jeanette, just how bright does the future look for you guys?
It looks real good. We got some upcoming people coming from middle school, 8th grade, and we still have people this year who didn't really show out as what they wanted to, but feel like we're going to be good future.
And just how excited are you be now? I mean, obviously you're not going to be a freshman next year. How important is it for you to become a leader for this team?
It's going to be real important. I got to take over. I feel more comfortable now. I played my year. But like I said, I did this my whole life. I'm used to this for real.
Well, it looks like, starting here, you're off to a good start, and I think you'll be getting a lot of looks here in the future, and we're excited to cover you for the next few years for sure, and I'm eager to watch you hoop this year too, so that's going to be fun. I heard your guys are looking pretty sweet, so I'm sure we're going to run into you again. Thank you to you and your family for coming down. B Graphics got a T-shirt there for you. Obviously, that plaque is yours to take home, and we look forward to the next few years, man.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Jen, we're going to go back to you.
Hey guys, just checking in with you to make sure everyone's having a good time, enjoying our live webcast. So next up, we're going to have our Defensive Player of the Year. So this senior from Sarah Catholic was a 4-year starter, and he had, looks like 147 total tackles this year. So he had a pretty incredible season. So live here from B Graphics in North Bell Vernon is Sarah Catholic's Mark Banner.
All right, we're back here with Mark Banner from Sarah Catholic, senior linebacker. Congratulations on winning the Defensive Year Award. I know I know your coach was pretty happy. He was kind of slighted, no all-conference selection, and I think you were close to the top of the WIPIAL in tackles. Just take us through this year for you. What was it like, and what's your mentality on defense when you see somebody carrying that ball?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this award again. Throughout the years, like, whenever I see someone with a ball, it's like just take them down no matter what. Right. Just do whatever it takes. And throughout the year, I know it's my team. They got the same exact mentality. I like to call them my brothers. Out of all my 4 years, they became my brothers. Only ones. Besides that, it was just pretty straightforward. Everything just came together throughout the year, and nothing more I can really say much about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, you almost shocked the WPIL in the first round of the playoffs. You were so close to knocking off Shadyside. I mean, unfortunately, Sky Moore's a great athlete, and you never want to see a kid get hurt. But, you guys have a job to do. What was playing in that game like knowing you were just on the cusp of, like, shocking everybody?
Playing that game was just wonderful. Knowing it could be my last and became my last was also one of the best parts. Just like knowing this could be my last time fighting for every inch, and almost winning was the best part.
147 tackles. I mean, that's pretty incredible of a number. Coming into the season, you mentioned that you wanted to just simply be better than you were last year. Mm-hmm. Do you kind of take satisfaction in the fact that, your numbers look better, you were able to have such a big impact on this defensive unit this year?
Yes, I definitely take satisfaction, but I never settle. Mm-hmm. And once I knew I passed my mark from last year, I kept going, see how far I can take it.
Right. And what was it like to be a part of this defensive group? I mean, it seemed like you had a lot of other weapons, a lot of young guys as well, kind of stepping up. But being the leader, really, of the defense. I mean, what was it like to be a part of that?
It was amazing. Being with my brothers was like the best part. Even with the younger guys, mm-hmm. It was just bringing me back first starting And my freshman year, I barely got some time, was able to get time. And we were in a very rough start. Only won 3 games that year. Before that, we only won 1.
Right.
But happy to see the program grow.
What's it like playing for Coach Akeem? I know he's pretty intense, and I know he gets you guys going. Just what's he like even in practice, and watching him on the sidelines looks pretty fun.
Yeah, he's always like keeping us motivated. He's one crazy man, we like to call him. That's the best way to describe him. And just getting used to the way he teaches us definitely improved us over the year.
Well, I know one thing. We're going to have the bulkiest photographer now. He's training our Ben, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens next year. We might have our photographer out there doing bench presses or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, just overall, I mean, from your freshman to senior year, just how have you grown as a player, and do you expect to play at the next level?
I definitely expect to play at the next level. Over the years, I became more trusting of my teammates. Freshman year is like, since we're like so low, like only like won 3 games, it was like no matter what, I had to take on whatever role as possible. Whatever they tell me, I had to do it. But I kept that mentality throughout all 4 years, and so happy. But I was able to trust my team more than ever this year.
I mean, I think he mentioned 147 tackles. You got any schools knocking on your door? Did you commit to anywhere yet, or
No,
still
not yet.
looking?
Still looking.
About how many you down to, like a final 3, final 5?
No, not yet.
Just taking a look and seeing, what do you want to do?
I haven't decided on my major, but I'm looking for ROTC. I want to become an
cool.
officer in the Marine Corps.
All right. Well, Mark, I thank you and your family for making the trip down here. We really appreciate it, and it's our pleasure to give you this award. For you to have 147 tackles and not be on the all-conference team is just unbelievable to us. So we're glad that as a local paper we can give you this award. You definitely deserve it, and thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man, appreciate it. We're going to go to Jen real quick, and we'll have Bell Vernon running back Mason Pasco here in the hot seat as our Offensive Player of the Year.
Hi, everyone. We're back here again live at Bead Graphics in North Bell Vernon for the Mon Valley Independent Bead Graphics Finest 25. So now we have up, last but not least, our Offensive Player of the Year. He is a senior running back from Bell Vernon area, Mason Pasco. Mason had 1767 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns this season. So he had a pretty amazing season for the Leopards. And we're going to send it back over to Jose and Jeremy for his interview.
All right, we're joined by our Offensive Player of the Year, Bell Vernon running back Mason Pasco. And Mason, you're the subject of my favorite photo of the year, the guy eating your elbow. By far my favorite photo for sure. Take me through the year. What was this year like for you coming in as knowing it was your senior year, and obviously didn't end the way you wanted it to, but just go from game 1 to this last game, and how'd it go?
Well, just starting off, I was just doing my job. Like we just wanted to win games and have a successful senior year, and we just played our best every single game, really.
How much do you use your size? I mean, you're not the tallest kid, but I mean, obviously you're pretty strong, especially your lower body. Mm-hmm. How much do you use that to your advantage when you're running behind your big line and nobody knows what hole you're going to come through?
Yeah, it definitely is an advantage a little bit because I can hide behind my linemen because they're all over 6 feet, so they're all up there blocking the best they can, and I'm just running behind them, hiding, so it works.
What can you say about your line? I mean, they obviously have, been with you for a couple
Mm-hmm.
years. A couple seniors on that line. But what can you say about what they've been able to do and how they really helped you throughout the past few years?
Well, my line, I mean, all of them are like my best friends. So I mean, I love running behind them. They love blocking for me. Can't leave out the fullback.
Right.
He's a really good fullback. Even the wide receivers, they're all trying to block too. So. I mean, it's really just all 11 of us.
What's it like with Coach McGinley? I know he's pretty intense, never wears pants. Yeah, I mean, and he always spoke so highly of you and your work ethic. And, what have you learned from him and Coach Humbert, throughout your career?
They're both really tremendous coaches. I mean, They just bring energy. We call Coach McGinley Aaron McGinley because he's just action-packed, really. But yeah, they're just great coaches, very supportive. And
obviously, like I said, you didn't end up where you wanted to end up, but it has to feel nice knowing, you gashed TJ and their defense for over 200 yards, and I know you say, you always credit your offensive line. But how does it feel like having that performance under your belt? You had, I think, 2 or 3 200-yard games this year. I mean, just what is the key to your success?
The key is, I think, just speed. I mean, I'm just, every time I get the ball, I'm running as fast as I can, hard as I can, trying to get past the defense. So that's what I do.
What was it? How special was it to be a part of this team this year? Making it to the WPIAL semis. Like Jeremy said, it's not the way you wanted the season to end, but to get to that point and to have the year that you guys had and to be competitive really in every game. How did that make you feel to be able to do that?
It was great being a part of this team. I wouldn't want to be again with any other guys. Every person on the team are my best friends, and we're all got really good chemistry, so wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Kind of bittersweet to see it end.
Yeah, it sucked, but we played the best we could. So,
looking back on it, is this season really a success for you, knowing what you did from point A to point B to the end game, or do you just feel like a kick to the gut that you just didn't take that final step?
I think we still did great. Winning 10 games, but obviously getting to the WPIAL is our goal at the end, but we just couldn't quite make it, which sucks, but I still think it was a great season.
So what's next for you? Next level?
I'm still looking. I'm browsing. I don't know where I'm going to go yet.
All right. Kind of looking back on the whole season, do you kind of have a specific favorite moment from this year, something that really sticks out to you?
I'm not that sure, honestly. Every big play was like awesome.
There were a lot.
Yeah,
it's hard to choose from. Well, like I said, congratulations on a great season. Congratulations on a great career. I know, you weren't there, the whole time for all 4 years, but you're near the top of the rushing charts at Bell Vernon. You have to be proud of that. I know Coach Humbert always talks about how proud he is of you and your work ethic and how fast you are. So congratulations on winning the Offensive Player of the Year award, and we look forward to keeping tabs on you in the future.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. We're going to go to a commercial. We'll be right back to wrap this up.
The Mon Valley Independent E-Edition has arrived. Stay connected with your hometown news, at home or on the go. We got you covered. What happens here matters here. Subscribe to our E-Edition today at monvalleyindependent.com. The Mon Valley Independent, your local Mon Valley news source.
everyone.
Was that live? All right, we're back. There we have it. Let's put a bow on the fall sports season. We're joined here at the Jen Caudalupi in the hot seat.
That's right.
So let's just wrap this up. Jose, your
First off,
Best moments of the winter sports season.
First off, I just
fall
want
sports.
to give a shout out to Jen for being our host tonight.
Right.
Thank you.
Did a great job. So I'm going to give her a shout out.
We may see more of her in the future. We like her a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, looking back on the fall sports season, I mean, there's so many different moments. I think I got to go to pretty much every school, almost every school, see all of them play this year. So,
I didn't.
Yeah, but
We know.
it's always a pleasure to see how much talent there is on the football field, and the Mon Valley has such a rich history when it comes to all sports, but football in particular. And I think you've said it best, Jeremy, when you say the Mon Valley just loves its football. So
It does.
it was definitely a good season to cover.
I definitely think our communities revolve
Yep.
around their high school teams. I say it all the time. I'll say it again. I'm sure I'm going to say it in the winter sports. But Jen, I know you have a few top highlights of your winter sports season. Your baby boy came into his own.
That's right.
A couple big touchdowns this year for Charleroi.
He had a pick 6.
Right.
And I had another touchdown, and he got his driver's permit today, guys.
Oh, boy.
Congratulations, E.
Oh, man. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to wear a helmet on the sidewalks now. So. Okay. But, anything else? I mean, what really stood out for you? Obviously, your Cougars made a good run this year.
I tell you what, the senior team that we had, they were just amazing. And we've been watching them since they were in midget league, and the magic that those boys had playing. It's going to be tough next year. We're going to miss them tremendously, but we wish them all well. A bunch of them are going to be playing in college, and we're definitely going to be following them in college and seeing what plays they're making there. And then our juniors, we have a really good team, I feel, coming back. And I tell you what, the freshmen and the sophomores, they got to play against this magical team in practice. So even though they might not have been on the field that much, all that practice time against this team that was super, and so I think they got a lot of good practice time, and don't count our younger teams out yet.
Right. I think the biggest thing that really stands out, granted, a lot of our teams are very senior laden, but there's so much young talent still here.
I mean, you saw the amount of freshmen that we had on this Finest 25.
Right, and some of them surprising. Like, I'm glad you got to see some of them, and some of the ones I didn't see. But the young talent just shows that football is the thing here. I know we have a debate, and we'll probably do it here on the show one day. What sport is king here in the Mon Valley? Is it basketball? Is it football? Do you count championships, or do you go by the players and the athletes? I mean, it's going to be an interesting debate. I know our ownership is really eager to get into that debate. I started a little bit of research for it, but I probably should have been doing other things. So, yeah, I mean, it's just the overall talent and the quality of the players. I mean, it's not always fun to talk to us. A lot of players don't know how. And I think that's our job as a local paper, to get these kids used to talking to the media. And, like I mentioned to Coach Getzey of how well-spoken his players were. I love last year it was Dom Santini was the guy we always wanted to go to.
Best
What
interview.
was his quote?
I can't remember exactly.
Before apologies to the Monessen Greyhounds here, but before something about
before
wipe
you
your
step
feet.
into our house, you better wipe your feet.
Yeah,
first.
something like that. It was a
Something
great
like
quote.
that.
And we had a few. Colton Kisner, I love talking to him. He's a great kid. I know he's been through a lot. Great senior year, and just all around. Legend Davis, the guys at Bell Vernon. I mean, I've talked to a few of those. And all the coaches, especially. I mean, without you guys, we couldn't do what we do. And for as much time as we put in, it's not. We say it all the time. It's not really work because this is what we love to do. Right. So other than that, that's it. Let's put a bow on the fall sports season. Yeah. I know we're in the middle of winter sports season. Our basketball tab will be out next Thursday. Catch it in
Hopefully.
It will be, or we're going to get in trouble. But, yeah, catch it in Thursday's Mon Valley Independent. And it's time for winter sports, guys. Lace them up.
Let's do it. I'm all ready.
That's it for Jen Caudalupi, Jose Negron. I'm sports editor Jeremy Slew signing off, and we'll see you again soon.
Great job, guys.